A black general, his uniform polished and adorned with the hard-earned weight of honor, was handcuffed and slammed against a squad car in the quiet Georgia town of Marlow Creek, labeled a fake by officers too blind to recognize truth when it stood right in front of them, their illusion shattered with a single phone call to the Pentagon that flipped their world upside down. Major General Leon Chambers, age 54, a towering presence in the United States Army, had only stopped in Marlow Creek to grab a quick bite before a high-stakes strategy briefing at Fort Eagle. His silver crew cut, his chest a display case of medals from conflicts most only read about in history books. Leon was more than just a veteran, he was a symbol. But that evening, in a dimly lit parking lot outside a roadside diner, two small-town officers saw only a black man in uniform and assumed deception. Their error would ignite a storm. It began with something simple: hunger. Leon pulled his rental into Millie's Diner, the neon sign flickering promises of warmth and food after 6 long hours on the interstate. He stepped out in full-dress blues, his 3 gleaming stars catching the moonlight like frost. The bell over the door gave a soft chime. A few truckers glanced up from their meals. A family at the counter paused mid-chew. A waitress flashed a friendly smile. He slid into a booth, ordered a double bacon cheeseburger, and checked his phone. A few classified emails, a reminder from Fort Eagle's command post, and a goodnight message from his wife, Clarissa. To him, it was just another routine night. At least, that's what he believed. Outside, officers Brett Colton and Zachary Dale leaned against their cruiser, the ends of their cigarettes burning orange. Colton, round-faced and cynical, squinted at the sedan. "Too nice a car for this hole," he muttered. Dale, younger, wired with arrogance, tilted his head. "Military plates, guys probably playing dress-up." They didn't verify the plates, didn't radio it in. They just watched, tension simmering, waiting, wanting. Inside, Leon savored every greasy bite, unaware of the suspicion circling like wolves outside. The diner buzzed with muted conversation, forks against plates and the hum of a dusty jukebox. Millie, the waitress with a bouncing blonde ponytail, poured him a fresh coffee. "You stationed nearby?" she asked, casually but kind. "Just passing through," Leon said, giving a practiced, polite smile. "Got a meeting down south." She liked his calm, the quiet command he carried. He didn't need to demand attention, it came naturally. After leaving a generous tip, he stood, adjusted his tie, and headed for the door. His polished shoes tapped gently on the checkerboard floor. The night air slapped him cold. He exhaled, a ghost of breath forming in the glow of a sodium lamp. He reached into his coat for his keys, already halfway back to the road in his mind, when a voice sliced through the quiet like broken glass. "Hey, you! Don't move!" Leon froze, hand mid-motion. Not panic, just the razor alertness of a man who'd faced IEDs in Kandahar. He turned slowly and locked eyes with Colton, whose flashlight beam stabbed straight into his face. "Evenin', officers," Leon said evenly, keeping his hands clearly visible. Colton approached, large and sour-smelling, reeking of smoke and stale coffee. "That's some Halloween outfit," he said with a sneer, letting the beam linger on the stars and ribbons as if they were costume jewelry. "Where'd you pick that up?" Leon's jaw tightened, but his tone remained diplomatic, weathered from years of commanding under pressure. "This isn't a costume. Major General Leon Chambers, U.S. Army." Dale smirked and began circling him. His cropped hair gleamed under the lamplight. "A general, huh? That's so," he scoffed. "You got fairy tale ID to back that up?" Leon gave a slow nod and motioned toward his left pocket. "My wallet's there." Colton's hand twitched toward his weapon. "Move slow." Leon obeyed, 2 fingers on the wallet, easing it out. Dale grabbed it, flipped it open, glanced at the credentials, then tossed it to Colton with a shrug. "Could be fake," Colton muttered, voice dripping with disdain. "Doesn't look like any general I've ever seen." The insult hit like a sucker punch, not in pain, but in meaning. Leon didn't blink. "And how many black generals have you personally met, officer? Or is it just that I don't look like the poster on your locker door?" The tension snapped taut like a drawn wire. A couple by the diner door had phones out, recording. Millie stepped outside, arms crossed, her jaw clenched. More bystanders gathered, gas station clerks, night shift workers, all drawn to the growing storm. Colton's face burned, not with guilt, but bruised pride. "Don't get smart," he snapped, stepping in close, breath sour. "We'll check your story. If you're lying, you're done." Leon didn't budge. "Call Fort Eagle. Ask for Colonel Maria Stratton. She'll confirm who I am." Dale laughed sharply. "Yeah, no bedtime stories tonight. Hands on the car." Leon's voice stayed low, firm. "I'm not resisting, but I won't follow illegal orders. You've got no legal grounds to detain me." That did it. Colton lunged, seized Leon's arm, twisted it back, and slammed him chest first against the hood. The cold steel bit through the uniform. "You want to play tough?" Colton growled, his breath hot and ugly. Holt looked pale, like the blood had drained from his face, all at once. For a full beat, no one moved. Then Chief Callahan cleared his throat, the sound ragged. Yes, ma'am. Understood." "Good," came Hargrove's final word, sharp, surgical, then the line went dead. The silence afterward wasn't just quiet, it was vacuum tight. You could have heard the second hand tick from across the station. Callahan moved first. He stepped over, keys jangling in his shaking hands, and began unlocking Marcus's cuffs. "General, my sincerest apologies," he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. Marcus stood slowly, rotating his wrists, the red marks stark against his dark skin. He didn't reply. Not yet. Ramsey opened his mouth, maybe to justify, maybe to plead, but Marcus cut him off with a glance that could freeze a fire. "I warned you," Marcus said, his voice low and lethal. "You ignored the truth because you didn't like how it looked." He turned toward the chief. "You've got a department problem, one that smells like rot under fresh paint. You'd better fix it before it burns your house down." And with that, he walked out, not storming, not limping, just walking, shoulders square, pace controlled, every step a verdict. Outside, the crowd hadn't left. Jenny was still there, arms crossed, phone still clutched tight. The people who'd seen it all unfold, who had filmed and gasped and whispered, stood like witnesses to something sacred. As Marcus stepped into the cold night, someone started clapping. Just one person at first, then another and another. The sound grew until it became something larger than applause. It became judgment. It became truth. Marcus didn't smile. He just got into his rental, started the engine, and drove off toward Fort Eagle, headlights slicing through the dark. He had a briefing in the morning. And now a story to tell, one with names, one with consequences, one no one would forget. Trembling, Holt backed into the wall, his eyes wide like a kid who'd just shattered something priceless. Callahan waved frantically toward him, nearly shouting, "Get those cuffs off, now!" Holt fumbled with the keys, fingers shaking. They slipped, clattering to the floor. He cursed, retrieved them, and eventually unlocked Marcus's cuffs. They hit the table with a metallic clang, loud as a gavel in a silent courtroom. Marcus stood slowly, each movement deliberate, rubbing his wrists as he rose. His eyes swept across the room. Ramsey, Holt, Callahan. None could meet his gaze. They shrank under the weight of it. Callahan stepped forward, extending the wallet with an awkward, trembling hand. "General, we're sorry. This was a mistake, a terrible one." Marcus took the wallet. His voice was low, cold. edged like a drawn blade. A mistake is forgetting someone's name. This, he nodded toward the cuffs. This was a decision. You chose to dismiss my ID, my rank, my truth, because I didn't match your idea of authority. That's not a mistake, Chief. That's a failure, and it's yours to carry. Then he turned and walked out. The station door groaned shut behind him with a heavy finality. Outside, the night was clear, stars sharp as diamonds. But his chest burned, not with fury, but the familiar weight of repetition. He slid behind the wheel of his rental. The engine hummed to life, a low, steady comfort, and he drove south. His mind churned with images, Ramsey's sneer, Holt's smug laugh, Jenny's courage. His phone buzzed again, Warren, Sheila, his old squad. But he let it ring. He wasn't ready to speak, not yet. By dawn, Greystone was ablaze. A clip from the parking lot, Ramsey's rough hands, Holt's mockery, Marcus's calm, unyielding voice, had gone viral. It spread like wildfire across X, TikTok, Instagram. Hashtags like Mao's General Tate and Justice for Marcus surged into trending territory. Ruby's diner overflowed, not with customers, but with reporters, locals, and out-of-towners drawn to the story. Jenny, still in her apron, stood behind the counter and told it again and again. I told Dale he was wrong, she said, eyes lit with righteous fire. That man was a gentleman, a soldier, and they treated him like trash because of his skin. By noon, it was on CNN. By night, MSNBC. Even conservative outlets picked it up, twisting it, diluting it, but they couldn't erase the truth. A black general, a decorated war hero, humiliated for existing. Greystone simmered. Protesters packed the streets outside the station. Signs read, "See us, don't cuff us." A few locals grumbled about law and order, but their voices were drowned by the tide. Ramsey never left his house. His blinds stayed shut. Holt tried to vanish, but the internet didn't forget. His old social media rants surfaced, seething with bile about thugs and entitlements. The outrage only grew. The Pentagon didn't blink. Hargrove herself called Virginia's Attorney General, demanding a full audit of the Greystone PD. The Department of Defense launched a sweeping review of civilian police encounters involving black service members. More reports poured in from bases across the country. The pattern was undeniable. Marcus never asked for the spotlight, but when it found him, he didn't flinch. As he once told a young major, "You don't fight for yourself. You fight for the one coming next." Within days, Ramsey and Holt were suspended, their records dissected. Buried complaints of profiling and excessive force were unearthed. The final blow came with the body cam footage. Ramsey spitting venom, calling Marcus a wannabe in a costume. Holt laughing in the background, the sound chilling. Protests swelled. Richmond, D.C., even Atlanta. People chanted Marcus's name, hoisting images of him in full-dress blues, his expression hard and proud. He became a symbol, not just of injustice, but of endurance. At Fort Bragg, Colonel Warren greeted him with a bone-crushing hug. "You okay, sir?" she asked, studying his face. He gave her a half-smile. "Takes more than 2 fools with badges to break me." The briefing that followed went as planned. Drones, defense budgets, tactical assessments. But the room felt different. Eyes lingered longer. Respect was no longer quiet. It was reverent. Afterwards, a young black lieutenant approached him, voice hesitant. "Sir, how do you keep going? After that?" Marcus looked at him, saw himself 20 years younger, raw, unsure. "You don't just keep going," he said. "You carve space. You force them to see you, not the shadow they fear. Every step teaches, you or them." In Greystone, the ripples kept spreading. Chief Callahan called a town hall. The high school gym swelled with residents thick with tension and possibility. Jenny live-streamed it all, phone steady in hand. "We failed General Tate," Callahan admitted, voice strained. "We failed this town. I'm stepping down. A new chief is coming." Boos mixed with applause. A storm of questions followed about accountability, about consequences. Then a local pastor stood, his voice calm but cutting. "This isn't about one resignation," he said. "It's about finally seeing each other, soldier, neighbor, human. If we don't start now, we never will." Marcus heard about it later. Jenny called, her voice bright with hope. "They're retraining every cop, sir. Ramsey's gone. Holt? Filing traffic reports in some basement. And people here, they're really talking, really listening." Marcus smiled, imagining her still behind the Ruby's counter, still pouring coffee, still fighting. "You did good, Jenny. More than you know." He never went back to Greystone. He didn't need to. The story wasn't his anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd ever been judged by their skin instead of their soul. At Bragg, he mentored a black captain, her eyes fierce but wary. "They're going to come for me, sir," she said quietly. "Test me. Try me." Marcus nodded. "Let them," he said. "You're not passing through. You're building the road. Stand tall. They'll learn." Months passed. Greystone's wounds remained, but change took root. Ramsey disappeared from public life. Holt moved out of state, his name toxic. The new chief, tough, sharp, from Philly, rewrote the rulebook. Bias training, transparency, civilian oversight, a new playbook and a new era. Because one night, one general refused to shrink, and everyone had to look. School boards started including his story in classrooms. Lessons about resilience, injustice, and dignity. Churches held healing circles, sermons on empathy and change. Marcus didn't track every update, didn't measure every ripple, but he felt them. A wave, born from one night, now spreading wide. One evening, Sheila showed him a viral post. His photo at Ruby's, mid-smile, beneath the words, "Heroes don't bend." He shook his head, humility second nature. But Sheila didn't let go of his hand. "They see you, Marcus," she said. "Let them." He thought of his father, a Vietnam vet who'd come home to spit, slurs, and silence, yet had once told him, "Hold your fire, son. It burns brighter that way." Marcus had always been made of that fire. Not flames that lash out, but embers that endure. The cuffs, the sneers, the cold hood of the cruiser, they lingered, not as wounds, but as scars, proof he'd lived through it, survived it, but so did Jenny's voice, Hargrove's wrath, Sheila's grip, and the million strangers who saw him, and truly saw him. Greystone had been one battle in a long, relentless war, and Marcus won it, not with fists, not with fury, but with truth. So here's the deal. If you've ever been sized up, pushed down, told you don't belong, know this, you do. Walk like the ground belongs to you. Live like your light can't be dimmed. And if this story hit you, if it made you angry, made you proud, share it, speak on it, comment, subscribe. Let's keep telling the stories that matter. The ones about the unbreakable, the unseen, the ones who teach the world how to open its damn eyes.